Welcome back to another Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the game video. Today, we're doing a patch review. Try not to make this one too long. I think we can make it a solid 20 minutes. Solid 20 minutes to get our thoughts out. But this is probably the biggest update the game's had in a while. I know it's not a new map, but this feels bigger than Virginia and the Mill for some reason. I don't know.
I completely agree.
I guess it's because we've spent the last, well, really spent the last 2 years building the Maria story, and now ultimately that story has come to an end. She's here. She's alive, which whether you expected that or not, it happened, and it's kind of exciting. Little underwhelming when you look at her actual character, though. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I always thought that Maria, if she was live or dead, I thought she'd be revealed via the museum mode. So kind of dropping randomly with the trailer is cool because it actually did surprise you. But at the same time, it's like there wasn't. I don't know. I just
I know. Yeah. Like again, we kind of put it in our own heads, but like we hear the museum modes coming, and we're hearing rumblings of what maybe we find out in the museum mode. We put the story in our own heads. What happened to Maria, or we find Maria at the end. Like we put that in our heads, so of course we're disappointed that that didn't happen. But that feels like a really cool way to have done it.
yeah. And now when it comes to museum mode, I feel like I guess it's kind of a good thing because if you're not going to do something like that in museum mode, now we don't have any like high expectations for it, unless you're expecting something else to be revealed with it. But yeah, it's I don't know pros and cons to it. I wish there would have been a cooler way. I wish there was something more in game that happened with teasing her, like hearing her. And you remember when like people said they were hearing shit in walls, like women screaming. Um,
Yeah, and then there was no videos or recordings of it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was a couple times where I thought I heard something, but it's like the freaking ghost pipes at Nancy's house. You just never actually know.
Yeah.
Uh, something like that would have been more of like building up to her because at the end of the day, all happened was just a random blind drop of a trailer. You're like, oh shit, she's been in the family house basement this whole time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eh,
also an explanation of her survival from pedals would be kind of cool because there's not even why didn't they make a wound for her that is a representation of what happened in Petals? Because from your POV, it looks like you either took a shot to the chest or you took a shot to the face. So like I feel like she should have had a cool scar. But it's only been really technically based on the lore, it's only been like 1, 2 to 3 weeks tops since
yeah.
she's gone missing.
Yeah.
So
Interesting choice to have her model be bloody all the time, and I like that. I really
yeah,
like.
yeah. Yeah, it's really the only thing beyond her being a little bit thicker. It's really the only thing that separates her from Anna.
Yep. They are built quite the same.
Yeah, they have the exact same attribute points.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exact which I I don't know if I like that.
I,
They're
I don't.
they're both meant to be final girls, and I know they're sisters, but like at the end of the day, one's still older than the other, and you would think that would come with something, whether she's wiser and has higher proficiency or something like that, or she plays
Tougher.
tougher, or she has higher toughness, or something, or she's always been the quiet one in the family, so she has more stuff. I just something that would differentiate her character a little bit more. Because her ability, I don't think bypasses Anna. I don't know if people would disagree with that. I think it's a pretty it's hard to say because I've not been able to play with her at level 3, and I think Maria, it's important to have her maxed out before her ability actually becomes good. Because
Right.
right now the ability it's okay. I'd like to whisper to Grandpa. If you don't know how her ability works, essentially you walk up to Grandpa. She does not get proximity detected by Grandpa, which is nice. If he yells and you're moving, he'll still mark you then. But if you can just walk right by him, and he will not mark you as Maria, which is pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, you just go walk up to him, you press your R1, and you whisper in his ear, and then the next time he yells, he'll spot the family instead of spotting the victims.
Yeah. Yeah. Her that That does help. That does help. Is it more effect I maybe it's more effective for the team than Ana. I mean, yeah, as Ana, you could pop your ability, take a couple hits in front of a gate or an exit, but as far as knowing where the family is, the whole team benefits from that, so
Yeah, I think, that's what I would say about Maria is that she's more of a, like a team friendly character versus I don't know, because of the way people play Ana, she's such a massive distraction.
yep.
Uh, so there's that component to it. But yeah, Maria, ultimately benefits the whole team. People were saying that she is basically just Sunny, just a glorified Sunny. But I was like, yes, but Sunny only benefits himself because he's the only one that sees through the walls and sees what people are.
The
Maria is helping everybody.
Right, and Sonny's is an active ability. He has to use it to see it, whereas if you have Maria's ability leveled up with the right perks and it can have Grandpa scream multiple times, it's more of a passive ability, kinda.
Yeah. If you are going against a team who's not running like pushing a lot of blood, she's noticeably better then because you can basically control Grandpa the entire game because he's not yelling as much. So that happened one game where literally the entire game there was not a single yell that went other than the first one that spotted victims. The entire game it was spotting family.
Mhm.
That's probably a skill issue. Ultimately, the family just blew it, but I'm just saying there is technically scenarios that play out where you can control Grandpa the entire game. So yeah, and I think where it will really shine is at that level 3 where you can drop Grandpa a level using it. But why not just stab? I don't know. It does not seem like an ability that's going to fall into the meta. I don't think Maria, beyond just being Maria, will be a character that's played over Ana or somebody else.
You can get the nice 1-2 combo with Maria not being able to be detected in front of Grandpa, where she can go up, sweet talk him, and then stab him.
Yep. Mhm.
That's a nice combo to have.
So yeah,
And
she
then
could. What's nice about that, if you had the level 3 ability, you could whisper, drop his level down one, and then stab and drop it down. So it's like having agitator without having agitator.
right, that could be beneficial. What kind of maps? I guess the bigger maps like the mill.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it does enough where it's really worth it to sacrifice another character that has a much more powerful ability. Sometimes it's handy, sometimes it's not. It's definitely not an ability where every single game you're going to see the value of it, like Leland or like Connie. So I don't know. I don't think she's going to take over the meta by any means. On the other hand, on the other side of this is the new family character, Hands, big brute, played by Robert Mukes, 7 foot tall, 350 pounds, and he's got like 5 abilities, which
Yeah,
yeah, Hands is super good. Okay, so he does a lot of damage. He's got his ball peen hammer, and he hits you hard. He has a barge ability that, although unlike Leland, you do actually have to aim and land the barge versus getting a guaranteed hit every single time. But still, it will knock over victims and it will hurt them. And at his level 3 ability, combined with perks like Bruiser, he can do a shit ton of damage with it and incapacitate victims all the time. Then his actual rip stall ability, his main ability, allows him to remove a fuse from the fuse box, or remove a valve handle from the valve, turn on the battery faster, or turn on the generator immediately after being shut off, and he can just bypass Danny's tamper completely. At least for now. I gotta assume they're gonna nerf that. I don't know. I've seen a lot of mixed thoughts on this, but
yeah.
yeah.
So when Hans's ability was first announced, I literally was like, it's like you go to a kid and you're like, hey, you get to create your own video game character. What do you want him to do? Be like, I want this and this and this and this and this. It just seems like it's just way too much. And before he came out, we speculated. Hopefully, there were a lot of cooldowns or a lot of limits to kind of things. Not as much as we thought.
Yeah, and then I mean, on top of that, he can it's a perk, but he has the ability to break down barricades.
Yeah.
So he's the one character that really can step in and replace Leatherface if you want to, in theory. Uh, Yeah, so here's what I'll say. He's on paper, he sounds OP. I don't think he's, and I know everyone's family main. I don't think he is as OP as we may be spitting out. I think it's too much to just bypass Danny's tamper. I'm not saying that Danny's tamper should completely neglect hands. I don't. It's the same way I don't think hands should completely neglect Danny's ability.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe there's somewhere you can meet in the middle where he could still maybe he cuts down the tamper time in half or something. But like that's the whole point of Danny's ability. So to have a character that completely bypasses it seems unnecessary. If you're gonna do that, where he does, I think this should happen anyway. But if you are gonna do that, where you can still bypass a tamper, you have to make the cooldown on his rip stall significantly longer.
Absolutely, yeah. The Ripsaw cooldown is way too quick for victims to get any value, especially Danny. And we're getting to the point where you see if someone's playing hands, which all week we've been playing,
Mm.
everyone's playing hands in every single match. It's not worth it to pick Danny. It's really not.
Yeah, no, he's just gonna bypass the tamper anyway, so you might as well just run somebody else again whose ability is gonna be more effective in that game. And maybe you could say that that's just part of the strategy. It's like, oh, nobody's running hands this game. I'll run Danny. But I don't want Danny's abilities to be completely trash,
Right.
completely pointless. So there's a couple ways to do that where you could just make it where he doesn't bypass the tamper, and like I said, the cooldown, no matter what, the cooldown on the rip stall needs to be way long. It's like 45 seconds. It comes back so quickly, so you can go over rip stall the valve and run over to the fuse, and by the time you're over there, you can practically rip stall again,
And
especially
then
if, once you level them up.
and then again, they while you go over to the fuse now, okay, you have someone else found another valve handle, put the valve handle on, use it. By the time he walks back over, he can rip stall that again.
Yeah, depending on the maps, it takes a lot of communication, which you don't see a lot with solo queue players, right? But to beat hands, it takes a lot of communication. Like, okay, he just rip stalled my valve. Now pop the fuse or something like that. So yeah, it just he can be beat, but because of how fast that cooldown is, it's I don't know, it's too much.
Absolutely. Yeah. That happened against us as we were family, where victims we were going against coordinated and popped the valve and the fuse at the same time. Uh, and then we did it as victims to a family. And still he rip stalled it after 40 seconds or so.
Yeah, I mean, most people made it out with that, but not everybody.
Yeah.
Even trying to beat his rip stall. So yeah, it's a little too much. Increase the cooldown, and then I think they need to probably pull the damage back on the barge. Once you get, if you're running Bruiser, which gives you more damage with the barge, and then you combine that with the level 3 ability that gives you 30% more damage, it's it's a little too much.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to tell you, man. When you could just barge somebody, and I mean, I would consistently in capping victims with the barge. Like it happened a lot. Then combine it with how powerful he is when he hits. So you could hit a victim twice and then barge him. And most builds, you're probably going to incap them.
Yeah. Barge's little cooldown animation after the barge, the victim can still get away from his arm's reach,
Sure.
but still the damage has been done. You have any character anywhere near during that barge and you're dead.
Yeah. And then last but not least, when it comes to hands, because he's got a whole other ability, the electric traps. You can't forget those. You can't sleep on the electric traps. They, to me, those aren't that big of a deal. Like you could bypass them pretty easily, just like any other trap. Bomb squad's there, yada. But now you're talking about a scenario where you can have three different trap characters in the same game, and it's just, yeah.
And the
I
bone scraps are still limited.
yeah, I think they need to not completely revert the change on Bomb Squad, but I think Bomb Squad should just be slower, keep it where its current speed is, maybe even a little bit slower, um, and then just make it unlimited charges. Because there are just too many freaking traps at any given time. His traps are pretty effective because you could straight up trap Gen, you can straight up trap a gate, you can trap the valve, whatever you want. So his map control is nice with those, but they're not obvious when they're disabled. So they're not the best thing in the world, but they're nice. It's another bonus to hands with map control.
Mhm.
So I don't think those make him OP at all, though. It's the barge and the rip stall where he's really you notice him the most and how powerful he is, especially that nasty rip stall.
Yeah, and he's slow, but he's not that slow. I mean, he's still faster than Cook
Yeah, and
with Scout.
he does have scout. You can get scout on him. I just don't think that's the best build for him. So he's not so slow where I'm like, fuck me, I have to have scout or I don't want to play him. No, I don't think scout's the best option for him. So yeah, slow enough, but I mean, you max out his endurance and he's fine.
I mean, whatever build you were running when you played hands, we raced, and I was Cook, and I had Scout,
Mm.
and I barely beat you, but if you would have added another 5 steps, you would have passed me.
Yeah, they're close to the same speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, and then they try to do other things to slow him down a little bit, like he can't go up ladders. Makes sense. He can't instantly barge a door like you would think a guy that size would be able to just instantly barge those doors like Johnny does, but he can't. Um, so that's one way they're slowing him down a little bit to try not to make him super overpowered. And then, you know, they're just trying to make him Leatherface at the end of the day, just because he's got rubber boots, huh?
He sure
The man's
does.
got rubber boots, which is hilarious. Yeah. I think the charge I wanted to mention as well when it comes to hands, I think the charge up on his barge is kind of useless. I mean, you do more damage if you charge it, but like it locks your camera and I don't know, it's just why would you ever run at him when he's sitting there squatting like that, ready to poop on you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So hands overall, I think it's a great character. It is pay to win. I'll say that every character in this game is pay to win because none of them are bad. Maria's not bad. If it's a character that can give you an advantage over other players and it costs money to buy them, doesn't matter if they're OP or not, they're pay to win. And hands is certainly pay to win. Danny's pay to win. You could still argue that Nancy and Maria are pay to win if you want to. That's just how it works. When you don't have an in-game currency and you charge for characters, they're pay to win. So that's just part of this game. It doesn't really matter because there's no. This is not a competitive game. You're. I mean, I know you can go look at your stats, but there's no competitive mode. There's no rank system. There's not actually officially sanctioned tournaments and things like that. So it doesn't really matter. But the game is played and treated like a competitive style game with the perk system and just the way players engage with it. So the pay to win characters are still annoying as shit. So I know why people are mad about hands. I don't think he's that bad. He absolutely needs to be adjusted, but I don't think he's, you know, people are completely dogging on him. But I
Right.
get why they're annoyed by him.
If you let's take a step back and go to Danny release day. Danny release months.
Yeah.
He if there was a Danny on the other team, which hey, there's a 1 in 4 chance there's going to be. Families left. Families quit playing because Danny with his original ability ended games. That was it. Victims win.
Yeah.
Hands isn't that bad
Yeah.
compared to day 1, month 1 Danny.
Yeah, there are some things about hands. Like I'm not a big fan of like certain perks or abilities where you as a player got outplayed and yet it saved your ass.
Exactly.
This game, they're all over the place in this game. Don't get me wrong. Like like Leland's barge and things like that. They're there. It's part of this game. It's part of the RNG and the cheese. That's why it's not a competitive game. Um, but Danny allowed for you to get free escapes instantly, and as a solo queue player, you get your entire team out, and it's just like Jesus Christ. I blinked, bro. I'm not even out. I'm not even out of the gen side of the map yet. I blinked and the game's over. Hands can't do that. What Hands does is he stops the momentum of a game. Like he's not ending the game. He's not killing you instantly or anything like that, but he's stopping the momentum and making you do it again.
Yep.
And that's annoying, but it's not game breaking like Danny was.
Right. There are plenty of games where we were victims and we escaped against hands, either sometimes all four. And sometimes we were victims and it would be a 4K whole team effort. And on the family side, some family games we got them all, and some family games, couple got out.
Yeah.
It's also it's a game. It's gonna happen, but it's not. Yeah, it's not Danny Slaughterhouse. Connie pops her ability immediately. Game's over before uh, Hitchy is even out of the facility.
Right. Yeah, it's and I will in these games, I know people may not want to hear it if you're a victim main or whatever. Um, but in these games, you want the more powerful side to be the killer side because that's where the horror comes from. That's what an ASIM game is. There it's meant to be an overpowered side versus. I mean, you don't want it to be broken. Like you want a chance, but you want it to be difficult. Like you want it to be scary. You want to be scared to go against those people. Like that's kind of where things like the grapple mechanics and choose fight and it takes away the fear. If you're not scared to go against somebody, it takes away the fear component of the game. So if you're gonna have a character come out like this that obviously needs some adjustments, needs to be nerfed, you're gonna want to be on that side. You're gonna want to be on that the killer side because to me as somebody who plays victim a lot, like we play quick match, I prefer to be in a scenario where I am scared to see that guy.
Mhm.
And hands actually because you can still grapple him. That's another thing that probably doesn't make a lot of sense that 110-pound Connie can grapple 7 foot tall, 350-pound hands and hit him with a freaking right hook into the ribs. Like that would actually affect him. Yeah, obviously not realistic, but if you make it where it is realistic and he just fucking decks you in the face and you die, then yeah, then it's like it's not fun anymore. So it's finding the balance between like completely busted and still being scary.
Yeah,
Uh,
that, me personally, this the most fun I've had playing the game in a long time.
yeah, and it's both sides too. Like there's a fun component to it. I know playing at victim against hands and just have that like, hey, we need to like talk and figure this out, and how we need to time things. I like that strategy component to the game. It's where TCM is divided from Killer Clowns. Like Killer Clowns is you could do that. Don't get me wrong. It is just so much less competitive and so much less strategic than TCM is. So like that's why I want these games to feel different. And that's what TCM is doing. And this is what Killer Clowns is doing. And I don't know. This has kind of brought back that strategic side of it. And it actually helped with stealth. I, for the first time in a while, I felt like I'm going to stay here in this position. I'm going to wait out something for a while before I push because I want to counter hands rip stall.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, we haven't had that in a while. So nerf him. That's my feedback. Nerf him, but not to the fucking ground. Just probably shouldn't completely bypass tamper. Cooldown increase on the ripstall ability would be my recommendation for it. And then the barge probably does a little bit too much damage. That's all. But it's also hard to land. Don't forget that,
Yes.
especially if you don't have scout on. Um, yeah, so that's hands. That's Maria. The new skill trees. Uh, pros and cons to those. I think overall they did a pretty good job. So they removed random nodes. They switched some perks around, so a lot of the meta builds went away in the game. A good example of that is Scout Wireframe Hitchy is no longer an option. I think there's some overall good changes. Some things I don't understand. Uh, for example, the Masterizer tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite Leatherface build in the game, which was Tenderizer, Master Key, and Big Swings, is not possible anymore. You can no longer combine Master Key and Tenderizer together, which what a fucking shame. Like, why? Why would you mess that one up? So that would hurt my soul a little bit. But what they seem to be doing on the family side is splitting up Scout from things. Like
Yep.
Johnny is not going to be able to get all three of the big perks that you want together. But at the same time, Johnny can now get what is it? Violence serrated and big swings. Like, what the fuck? Like, he's not going to catch you as fast, but when he does, He's gonna demolish you.
Man, I had a Johnny kill me in 2 hits. I
Yeah.
had I had this much health gone. Like I had almost a full health bar. 2 hits done.
Yes, I don't know if that was I that's fine, I guess, if you're slowing him down because he should be scary. Because if you don't have a build like that on him, nobody wants to play him. He doesn't have the map control component. The feet tracking only comes in handy so often. So what you really want from Johnny is the fast kill, while
Mhm.
still being fast enough to rotate on the map and to cover the map as well as you can.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get why they kept a build like that in the game for him, but god damn,
He
still hurts.
hurts. He
Yeah,
hurts.
yeah.
Cook has the same meta build.
Yeah, he didn't need to be changed too much. I
Scout serrated pin scout
scared him.
serrated security pins.
Yeah, he. I don't think people really complained about him too much. Uh, Serrated is just an annoying ass perk in general.
It is.
Um, and so they changed Leatherface around where you can't combine Scout with Violent and big swings, things like that, or hysterical strength. They took away the main meta build from Leatherface, but then they added a whole new build for him. They fucked up my Masterizer tech on the left side of the tree is no longer the Masterizer tech, but now you can have violent big swings and serrated. They added serrated to Leatherface. Like that, okay, that's a insane build on
Yep.
Leatherface. He doesn't
Yep.
have Scout, sure, but you don't need Scout.
Yeah. Take away a fun build. One of the few fun builds that you could actually run without getting demolished by victims,
Hmm.
and you give him that.
Yeah, so he's gonna hit like a truck, uh, and which I again at the same time I'm like, oh okay, yeah, like it's Leatherface. That makes sense to me. That's how he should be. He should be super scary to go against. Where if he does get a hold of you, damn tough. But at the same time, you don't want to die the first time you encounter him in 20 seconds. It's a weird balance to figure out. But that character, especially now with hands being so good, you want to be able to keep him relevant somehow. It's still he's still the face of the game. So you still want to keep him relevant somehow. And that type of build on him, still removing scout from it, so you're not being caught in 2 seconds. But if you do get caught, you're in trouble. I think is okay. But it's hard to say because everyone's been playing hands instead of playing Leatherface, at least for now. There's been some, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Sissy has slippery and wireframe. Slippery
yeah,
doesn't work
yeah.
at the moment.
Slippery, you can unlock it in the tree, but it just doesn't show up in your perk pool. But now she's
And
got wireframe, which
yeah,
finally,
yeah, wireframe and slippery on two opposite ends of the tree, by the way, so you can't get them both.
yeah, because if you could, that would be stupid.
You just blink and she's just morphing through walls at that point.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I was they gave her slippery. I'm like, why not just give her wireframe? Like that's been the call all along. Like give her wireframe. It was annoying when you had wireframe and scout combined on Hitch because not only are you getting he's now unstoppable in chase, but he's got traps too. Since he didn't have shit, she didn't get wireframe and she she's had the poison, which is good, but yeah, I think she should have wireframe. I think that was a good call.
Yeah. Then on victim side, man, the biggest complaint when this was all announced. Great, now there's going to be 3 characters with fast hands,
Yeah, and they removed it from Virginia.
and they removed it from Virginia, so there's
Yeah,
still only 2.
which was such a fucking no brainer. Like obviously they were just going to remove it from somebody. That's why I figured they were going to do that. If you're going to add it to a new character, to Sunny, who cool, that is fine. I think he should finally. He's got some good freaking perks, and he's actually. I mean, he falls right to the meta now. To be honest
He,
with you,
he honestly, he was doing some work against us when we were playing family yesterday.
yeah. Because people forget that Sunny. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of toughness, but God, he's fast, dude. Like he's fast, and he just keeps going. And if you have the right build, now you have like no cell, and then fast hands too. He's pretty freaking disgusting. So now he's pretty good. And then, man, if you are a door slammer, if you want to just door slam family, Sunny's so good to do it with because you just close a door and then you use your ability and watch them walk up to the door, and then you just time it perfectly and shit on them. I mean, brutal. Brutal. He's actually a good character that probably will be seen so much more now. And then, yeah, pull it from Virginia so you can no longer just throw down a fucking boon and unlock with fast hands before the family can even see again. That was super annoying. So
Yeah.
that's the perfect change. I think they did the right call there.
Ana, no more no sell on Ana.
Yeah, like no shit. Like, come on.
Yeah. That
Unnecessary.
I mean, I played Ana and I just knew what I could do.
Yeah. Hey, no sell. I always the game when the perk trees, the original perk trees, they always seem to be favoring towards the ability of the character, and I don't really think that that's what it should be. Like you're taking perks on Ana and just putting all toughness perks onto a character who already has freaky good toughness. Like, shouldn't you want perks that are like help her in her endurance instead, or something along those lines, or her stealth or proficiency or whatever? Like, they didn't like Julie had even worse. Like, her perks had nothing to do with her ability. She didn't have shit. Now she's actually she's good. Her perks actually make sense.
Mhm. Yeah, Julie's fun to play. I never really played a lot of Julie, but now that we have more characters to choose from, now I can choose someone other than Anna or Sunny.
Yeah.
And playing Julie is yeah, it's fun now.
Yeah, like, when you look at perks on paper, like, you're just reading their overall descriptions, you're like, "Oh, this doesn't sound too bad. It just seems like an okay perk." But then when you put it and you're, like, doubling somebody's toughness and things like that, who's already a freakishly tough character, that's what things get annoying. And I always feel like perks should be filling holes for your character and just making them a more overall balanced character. But because things like stealth are ultimately useless in the rush meta, you don't need to ever apply perks to fill that hole. So then that's why people just run toughness perks on Ana, things like
Yep.
that. So yeah, I the change to the tree needed to happen. Break up some of the meta builds. I'm curious if they're gonna keep going. I wonder if there's more changes that they want to throw in there. They were talking about making new original perks, new unique
Mhm.
perks. What is the grandpa perk change gonna be?
And what is it gonna be?
Yeah, for real. Like what are they doing? I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, our theory was to slow down the beginning of the game is as soon as the victims wake up grandpa, it automatically activates that first grandpa perk. Like that was just an idea of how to slow them down a little bit, slow down gameplay a little bit. Now, you have hands, a character that can slow them down a little bit once they get going. And so I don't know.
I think a cool way to do it is if victims wake up grandpa by anything other than a door opening, it should level them up one. But if they open a door and that's the victim's noise woke him up, then that's fair. I mean, you open a door, like you.
Right. And
But yeah,
and
but
then he's automatically level 1 as soon as they get up. If they go stab him, he'll go back down to 0.
sure,
It's not permanent level 1.
yeah. So I think that would be just a ways where people don't just spam toolboxes right away or spam bone scraps. You actually make them grab those quietly, and then you can if you can open a door the exact same. If you wake up grandpa opening a door, he doesn't level up. But that would certainly be a way to slow down that early game.
Or if the grandpa perks are gonna be tiered, where exterior alarms will always happen at level 3 regardless if your other 2 slots are empty.
That would be horrible.
That would be awful.
I'd want to die.
Yikes.
Nah, they can't do that. Because what if you have multiple tier 3 perks? Like,
What if all 3 run exterior alarms?
and the thing is that that's a strategy. Like, I'm sacrificing two other whole perks that could help me because I want to get exterior alarms right away because I know there's a chance I get rushed. So I want it activated as quickly as possible to help. That's a sacrifice you're making.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Hopefully we hear more on that soon.
Yeah, I'm curious. And then just wait in the museum mode, man.
Mhm.
I hope that thing delivers, especially now that it's technically been delayed at least 90 days.
Right, they're putting 90 more days of work into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. The odd gentlemen are making it. Um, and those dudes are, I mean, they've always been good for everything we've seen from them,
Mhm.
Virtual Cabin 2.0. Never forget. It's still like one of my favorite things in the world.
We gotta bring the speed runs back at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it's more optimized. this time around
Yeah.
because pedals almost blew up my PC.
Yeah, and it constantly crashed.
Yeah, you needed an absolute tank to run that game. It's just a
The
fucking
ARG.
game where you go around and take photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, curious how that's gonna go. They gotta do something. But all right, last thing I want to talk about, and this is just me being a dick, and I just like I feel the need to continue to call out how much this drives me fucking nuts. But once again, what appears to be significant leaks, and they're probably the most significant. If they end up being true, I'm not gonna say what the leaks are. Go find them yourself if you want to ruin your Christmas. But yeah, like significant leaks happened again in this update to the point where the biggest surprise that this game could ever had just got ruined. And
Maybe.
God, maybe. And it just pisses me off. Like, please, for the love of God, you've been doing better. But now this one was so bad that I'm like just so sad about it. Because man, what a moment ruined because of stupid leaks
Yeah, and then we heard that maybe it took 5 minutes and they
to hot fix it
removed
out.
to hot fix it out.
Mhm.
Even that it too late.
Yeah, like it,
It's
I don't
everywhere.
know. I feel like there needs to be one person on staff who's just sitting there with their UE viewer ready to data mine shit before things go live. Just like, all right, hey, go try to find something in the files and see if we fucked up. And then once that guy's like, okay, cool. Maybe they have that guy and maybe they do that. I'm just saying, like, you gotta catch those things, man, because it's such a shame how big of a pop that moment could have had. And now it's just like, yeah.
And you know what? Leaks have been wrong before. Everyone till the day they died said Maria's dead. Look at the leaks. Maria's dead. Look at her body. Look at her lines. And she's not dead.
Yeah, planted leaks happen. Like you could argue that the voice lines saying that Maria, like them freaking out about finding her body and her dead body, uh, could have been planted leaks. I think they just changed course, but let's just say those were planted leaks. Uh, you could you can't really argue that with these leaks because it would be the dumbest marketing scheme ever. Uh, so either
Yeah.
they're listen, we've had some issues with their marketing beats here and there. They're not that dumb. Okay, they're they would not go around and fake these. Dude, like what is with some of the lines are so AI. This new update and the way they interact with hands sound literally like AI.
Yeah, they've come out and said that they do not use AI at gun. Well, did they use the same voice actors? Because some of them sound truly like they could not give a flying fuck
Yeah,
about how they sound to the character,
yeah.
or it was someone else.
It was like some of Cook's lines are weird, but Julie's are really bad. Like there are some really bad Julie lines in there. And I'm like, okay, it sounds like AI to me. It sounds robotic. So if you're confirming, which Andy was like a little aggressive about it, he was just like, we never use AI at gun, period. Like, okay, so what you're saying is Scout sucked this time around. What happened? Like Scout is super talented. Scout's unbelievable. So what happened? Who directed her? Who said that these lines were okay? And then my guess with what happened with this is that Scout did this remotely, and it was like those lines were done maybe at home in a home studio booth, something like that, and maybe didn't have a director on call with her giving feedback on a line or something. Because I just can't imagine those very robotic lines coming through.
Or they were temp lines that were never meant to go through.
Sure.
And some of the stuff for some of the leaks that we don't have in game, maybe that was all temporary, and they're waiting to get into a booth with Gunn is waiting to get into a booth with her
Mm,
and whoever to record those lines professionally. Those were just placeholders. Then why are they in the files at all? They're just placeholders. Get them out.
yeah, I don't know. So it's a little weird, but I mean, they did this thing with Sissy's lines where they completely changed her lines at one point. So
Yeah.
I think you might see that happen again with Julie. Who knows? It could have literally just been like something. Hey, we need these as quick as possible. Do them remotely. Yada yada. I don't know. Either way, there's something a little weird about them. As I genuinely thought they were AI. That they sound like AI.
Yeah, they do.
So
But they are adamant. Gun does not use AI.
yeah, I actually would prefer if it would have been AI, because now I just feel like a dick for thinking that Scout sounds like AI. You know, I would have preferred that if like, hey, yes, temporarily, these are AI. We didn't have time to get with Scout before the release date. Otherwise, we have to delay it. So temporarily, AI lines will be coming back to her once we can get her in the booth. Yada yada. I would have preferred that scenario over me being like, ah, god damn it. Now Scout just sounds like a robot. The very, very, very talented Scout Taylor Compton has all of a sudden lines that don't sound very good. I don't get
Yeah.
it. But that's it. That's the update. That's the patch. Not a bad one. Pretty good one. The game is actually like shockingly fun.
It
Last 20 hours of gameplay.
the updates dropped and every single platform was playable.
Yeah, that was the first. That was the first green light there. That was the first sign we were in for a good time.
Uh, uh, DLC took a little while on Steam to
Yeah, yeah.
populate, but other
Mhm.
than that, it seemed pretty smooth.
Not bad. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that going. Less leaks, more content. And now it's a question, where do we go from here? Obviously, if you see the links, what little there are, you might have an idea where they're going here. But I don't know. I'm curious what's next, because my theory from day one was once they get past this Maria storyline, we'll start rolling into licenses and sequel content potentially in what we're doing. But who knows? And so, still curious about Jesse. Maybe he's in the museum mode. Maybe Virginia's boy is in museum mode. I'm curious about him too.
Her baby boy.
Her baby boy, he's in museum mode. He's got to be dead. How many people are slaughtering her family, bringing into the home, and holding hostage? I
Well,
understand Grandpa simping over Maria. All right,
me too.
I mean, I get that one, but how many more people? What is Jesse? What is Sissy like him? Nancy like him? Nancy wants to adopt him.
Nah, he's got to be dead.
He's got to be dead. I want to see Virginia's reaction. I want to see Barbara Crampton's voice line for finding Jesse's body. And I hope it's something along the lines of yeah. I don't know. Anything else?
I don't think so. We were getting a little burnt out before
Sure.
this patch was announced and these new abilities were announced. We were getting burnt out, and it's actually, the game is actually fun to sit and play again, which is amazing. Thank God.
Thank God. Now imagine what a new map that hasn't been leaked is gonna do.
Right?
Man, wonder what the new map is gonna be. Is that where we're gonna find Jesse?
Jesse.
He's at the mill. We all know he's at the mill. All right, that is our thoughts. Let us know yours in the comments below. But that's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to our channel for more updates like this one. And of course, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.